Diplomacy is about power, leverage, knowing when to stand firm. What we just saw, that wasn't diplomacy. That was a live-streamed humiliation. There sat King Abdullah of Jordan, stiff, blinking like a man who had just walked into an ambush. His hands clenched, unclenched, his gaze darted anywhere but at the man beside him. And who was beside him? Donald Trump, grinning like he had just closed another hotel deal. We're going to take over Gaza, we're going to have it, we. Not the people of Gaza, not the Palestinians, not even a fake peacekeeping excuse, we, as in America, as in Israel, as in billionaires and war architects who treat entire nations like monopoly pieces. And the people of Gaza, just an inconvenience, to be moved, erased, shuffled off to Jordan, Egypt, wherever. The details, like human lives, are just logistics. This was Abdullah's moment to push back, to throw his own red lines back at Trump. Instead, he was humiliated into nodding along. A closed-door meeting turned into an unscheduled press conference, an ambush. He sat there stiff, lips tight, while Trump bulldozed ahead with a plan he had publicly opposed. And the second he left, he rushed to Twitter. In both Arabic and English, he made it clear Jordan rejects the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. That was what he had told Trump privately. So why didn't he just say it publicly? Why sit there, stiff and silent, as Trump bulldozed ahead? His position is the right one, morally, politically, legally, and yet, in that moment, under the bright lights, he bowed to the spectacle. After his tweets, his foreign minister, red-faced, was sent out to hammer the message home on every major news channel. Then came the joint statement with Egypt, forcefully rejecting Trump's plan. Because this is what Trump does. He humiliates his own allies. He doesn't just impose his will, he makes them bow to it. Forces them into photo ops where they have no choice but to nod and squirm. And Jordan wasn't the only one. Saudi Arabia got the same treatment. Sitting next to Netanyahu, Trump lied, claimed Saudi Arabia was ready to normalize relations without the Palestinian state it had always demanded. Saudi Arabia immediately denied it, a rare public slap to a US president they once treated as untouchable. Because for decades, US administrations at least pretended to respect their Arab allies. They flattered, they played the game, not Trump. Trump doesn't do subtlety. There's no handshake diplomacy, no balancing act, just brute force and public mockery. And when asked if he'd cut off aid to any country that refused to comply, he didn't even hesitate. Yes, just like that. And how much are we talking about? 1.69 billion to Jordan and 1.5 billion to Egypt. Sounds like a lot, until you realize Trump is pressuring Saudi Arabia for 1 trillion. Suddenly, the aid he's dangling over Jordan and Egypt looks like pocket money. For decades, these leaders played the game, made sure their survival depended on Washington's favor. But Trump's arrogance, his blind obedience to Israel's most extreme factions, is forcing even his allies to say no. Because he's not just pushing policies that hurt them, he is threatening to set the region on fire. Trump keeps repeating, Israel is too small, it needs to be enlarged. That is not just a threat to what's left of Palestine, that is a threat to the entire region. Because Trump's far-right Israeli allies don't just want more land, they want it all. They talk about expansion from the Nile to the Euphrates. And Netanyahu? He doesn't even hide it anymore. When asked about a Palestinian state, he mockingly suggested, Saudi Arabia has a lot of land. That is the future Trump and his far-right Israeli allies are shaping, a Middle East ruled by expansionist extremism. A region where borders are erased, nations are torn apart, and millions are forced into exile while their land is stolen, bulldozed, claimed. And if Arab leaders give in, they won't survive it. Because what Trump is demanding isn't just obedience, he is demanding self-destruction. And even his most loyal allies can't afford to give him that. As Thomas Friedman warned in the New York Times, if the Trump administration tries to force Jordan and Egypt to accept Palestinians from Gaza, it will destabilize the demographic balance in Jordan, destabilize Egypt, and destabilize Israel. Similarly, Alistair Burt, former UK Middle East minister, stated that moving Palestinians from Gaza to Jordan is catastrophic to Jordan, not based on reality at all. And as the world warns of disaster, Israel's far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, just let the truth slip out. Dismissing opposition to Trump's ethnic cleansing plan, he admitted on live TV, "No, Gaza is not their homeland. 75% of the Palestinians in Gaza were originally displaced from areas like Haifa, Tabariya, Akka and Yafa in 1948. Well, maybe that's what King Abdullah should have said to Trump. Maybe instead of sitting there while Trump pressed him to help cleanse Gaza, he should have turned to him and said, maybe you should let them go home. Let them return to Haifa, to Akka, to Yafa, to Tabariya, back to the cities and villages they were driven from." Smotrich himself admits it. Gazans are refugees from 1948. It isn't about relocation. It's about the ethnic cleansing of a nation. This isn't about finding them a new home. This is about keeping them from going back to the one they had already. For decades, Arab regimes have survived by silencing dissent, by crushing revolts, by bribing their people into submission. But there is no price that can be paid, no force that can be summoned to suppress the explosion that would come from a second Nakba. That is the line that cannot be crossed. But if any of them sign away Palestine, if they think they can absorb its exiled millions and move on, they are deluding themselves. Their people will never accept it. No police state, no foreign alliance can shield them from the reckoning that will follow. They will pay the price with their thrones, with the very foundations of their rule. And when that moment comes, neither Trump, nor Netanyahu, nor any force on earth will save them. And that is why they're now finally saying no to Trump.